Hi, we'll look at a very powerful feature of Microsoft Power Query, which is an add-in in Excel 2010 and 2013. This powerful tool is called Pivot and UnPivot. So let's get right to it. Hit Power Query in Excel 2010 or 2013. Either you can launch editor or you can double click the query that you currently have. Here we go. So in the previous tutorial number 1, we pulled data from 10 different Excel files and appended all of it in one table. Now, what I want to share with you is something that really made me a big fan of Power Query. So here we go, folks. I have financial information, which is revenue and GP information, and some expenses for each of the month. It's a dummy data, and what we are going to do is we are going to select all these columns which have cost, revenue, GP, etc. spread around in different columns, right? Because we just want to shape the data which is easier for us to work, and depending on your style of work and your requirements, you may find it very useful to unpivot the data. So just want these to be in one column. So how are we going to do that? So you hit unpivot columns and boom, here you go. All those column headings are values in a column and the amount for each of those column heading for that particular line is shown here. So this really helps me in working with the data, and I can show you how. So I'm going to keep my changes, and Power Query added additional rows to work for unpivoting the data. So there would be way more than 4,500 rows that I previously had. And just to share with you, I have a very basic, which is one column has all the attributes, which I can call like P&L line, detail, and the value for each of those attributes. So how am I going to use this in a pivot table? Let's check it out. Let's refresh our pivot table. Well, if you load this in a data model, and this is a power pivot, not a regular pivot table, you don't need to refresh it. It refreshes automatically. So here we go. Here we go. Alrighty, so there's my revenue. There's my revenue. There's my cost. And there's my GP. So everything else, the cost, and I GP. Oh, cool. I want grand total. There we go. So these are made up numbers. I assigned random value in Excel, so it changes every time, right? So my total cost should add up to 96,007, which it does. And then if I subtract 96,000 from negative 192, I get another 96,000 in GP. So see how easy it is. If I didn't have all these cost and revenue information in a column, I would have to drop down a column in each of the values. So let me show you that. So if you prefer all these revenue, cost, and GP information to be separate column, not in just one column, depending on how you like to work. I can show you how to do that. So if this is how you get your data and you want to pivot this information, all you do is hit pivot table and pivot column and select value. Alrighty. So I have an 11-inch monitor. I'm working with like really small system here. Let's move it to the top. Alrighty. So we want it to pivot on value. Here we go, hit OK. Now you see all these values will become a column in itself. Wait for it. 1, 2, 3. If I had i7, it would have done by now. Oh, still so fast with the Pentium. Alrighty, so we got headcount cost, we got third-party labor cost, we got travel, we got Q cost, training costs. So all those things that were in a column are a column of their own. Alrighty, so now this is going to give me like 4,500 rows to find out. So when we unpivoted the data, what Power Query did is it inserted rows, duplicate row with duplicate values to account for unpivoting the data. Here we go, 4,500 rows. I'll refresh my pivot table and attribute and value is gone. So now I have to drag total revenue. I have to drag each cost down. I don't like to work like that. I like to work efficiently. So I like to unpivot my data. And see, like, you are looking at everything pretty much spread out, right? So it's difficult to do analysis when you have about a million rows for each month like I do. If I want to look at this data for 12 million GL line items, this is not really how I want to see it. I want to drop some row labels and just insert the attribute as a value over there and filter on it. So, I can see all of it in one go rather than this being spread out in spreadsheet. So this is a quick look at unpivoting and pivoting data. It has so many uses. For example, if you are working with your team members who maintain an Excel file and you are the one responsible for putting it all together, and everyone loves the way they have customized the spreadsheet. So someone would provide you all this information as a column of its own. Someone may provide you all the information in one column and values in the second column like I had before, you know, or it could be, like I have one spreadsheet in which I have 12 months of data and I have 12 columns for revenue, 12 columns for each of these costs, and 12 columns for total cost and 12 columns for total GP, January to December. Guess how difficult it is to work with so many columns. So I unpivot and I summarize all that information in 2 columns. Isn't that amazing? So in the next video, we'll see how to write if-then statements. Peace out.